How we doing, guys? It's good to be back. Welcome in for another fancy episode of the UFL Insiders. I got Mark Nelson joining the party today. How you doing today, Mark?
Oh, I'm great, and you're right. It is fancy in here. It's as fancy as it gets.
Hey, I got a little excited. I haven't heard that intro in over a week. Got me a little pumped up. I'm not gonna lie. It's good to be back. I had to take care of some stuff last week. Had some stuff going on my end, but back in action now. Mark, I love to have you on the show as always, but really one of the big things I brought you on for is to kind of discuss your experience at the UFL Championship, and we'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, man, how have you been? How's things been going in Canada?
Oh, things have been going great. UFL board, we managed to make it through another season. Our contributors, Greg Parks, is still producing content. He's doing some team wrap-ups he's doing a wrap-up for each team right now. He posted some commentary on the championship, and in an article today he talked about whether the Stallions are a dynasty or not, which was a very good read, very interesting from Greg's point of view. So it's always nice to hear from him. So we're still, the season's over, but we're still operating. And as you know, there's still stuff going on with the UFL.
Yes, sir. This is when the fun begins. It's where we see who's making content to share news, or who's trying to get, some rile up the expansion or something along those lines. So It's good to see you guys putting out content that, is still productive.
Yeah, that whole expansion talk, that kind of deflated, didn't it?
Yeah. It was rough in these trenches for a while. Did not enjoy it too much. Besides the fact of just having discussions with different people, we couldn't really celebrate or shine on any aspect of the league last year just because we had the merger hanging over our heads.
Yeah, that was rough. Yeah, those are the dark ages, aren't they?
Yes, sir. Agreed. It's good to be in a more stable path for sure. And my show specifically, we're going to be trying to do more interviews and stuff this year and trying to get more inside of things.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, you have that opportunity now. And even with, since Moose Johnson said that there won't be any expansion, and he's basically next season will be the same 8 teams.
Yep. There is an article. I'll post it in the show notes, guys, that he's speaking about. I don't have it pulled up.
Yeah. So that's out there. I hope he's right. I hope he hasn't just spoken off the cuff and there's something in the works. I hope not.
That was on an appearance on a radio show, correct? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Guys, if you search that on Google, you'll find it easily. Just search Daryl Johnson's comments on UFL 2025. Guarantee you'll find it very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to know that they're going to build and we're not going to take away and restructure and come up with different names and conferences. It's good to see some consistency.
I hope that's the way it goes. But from my experience with spring leagues, XFL and especially, which all my experience with, something is, when the championship game is over, something is announced or said, and then that doesn't always work. In this case, I get the feeling that I think that's it. I think that he's speaking the truth, and I think that's the way it'll go. Especially when the ratings were actually decent. There's no reason to fear the broadcasters pulling out. Mind you, Fox is planning on shoving the XFL on Friday night, something I'm not really sure whether that's good or bad, frankly. I don't mind Friday night football. I live in Canada, with Friday night football is part of our makeup. So bring it on.
Yeah, we just can't have those 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock p.m. games. Those are a little rough. If you're watching or attending, that's rough.
It can be rough. Well, it's rough on attendance, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree on the TV numbers, and we'll talk about that more as well once we get to the championship breakdown. Yeah, it's good to see that all the numbers are up from last year with both leagues combined in terms of TV ratings. That's a positive outlook, and it's something to look forward to. Most, and even me myself, I had the speculation that axing 15% of your teams also axes 50% of your fans. And apparently I'm wrong because they still did better than what they did last year, TV rating wise.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to comments now. What's up, Rick 8-Bit? How you doing, man? Y'all check out Rick 8-Bit's work, Tecmo Bowl. He does all kinds of different content related to UFL and past and present. Pretty cool. Foosball Pan. Sad that the Hawks didn't make it, given that result. I agree with you. We would have seen probably an uptick in attendance for sure.
Yeah, that was very difficult. And the announced attendance was decent, but the actual attendance was very sparse.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more too when we get to the game, no doubt. Brahma Bulletin made it through the season, yes sir. And Brahma Bulletin's on tonight, guys. He'll be on. Him and XFLMikeG are going to talk about the game a little bit. Jackie, what's up, Jackie? Horns Forward podcast in the house. She said she still hasn't gotten over the game.
It was rough.
It was rough watching at home too. It really was. It's unfortunate. Foosball fan, got to invest more in the markets they already have. Agreed, Foosball fan.
Hopefully they do.
Agreed.
Not confident they will, though.
We got Richard. He said we did better than most teams. I'm with you, though. I guess he's talking about the Battlehawks.
Yeah, it could be worse. You could have been in the basement. Those fans are still suffering.
Jackie said being there was worse.
Yeah. I saw you guys. I saw the Brahmas fans. They were all standing in the first quarter, and then they slowly started to take a seat. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, and they made the drive, too. They took a van down. They did a big charade. So,
well, I hope they drank a lot.
I can't speak on that.
Yeah, that's all I can say. I hope they had a good drinking party after that game.
Hey, I'll tell you what, that crew is probably them and the Rig Rocker and Predator Couple crew. They are the most traveled, I'd say, across this season. Much respect to all those guys, those super fan girls, super fans alike. I mean, you guys all doing your thing. It's good to see, and that's what we need. We need people to support it. And even when your team loses, you're still there.
Yeah, much respect for those that traveled and that continue to travel, that have done so much support for their team, for the Brahmas and the Stallions as well. So much respect.
Yep, agreed with you there. Yeah, you even traveled from Canada, man. That's a lot of miles for you yourself.
Yeah, they made me take off my belt to go through security. My pants fell down. It was rough, I tell you. It was rough.
You just got to go through naked at that point. Body search. Do it.
Yeah.
Oh, Jay said, what's up, Matt? 1.72 peak viewership is spectacular, and that's million. He means 1.72 million.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think the UFL will have the championship next year? Honestly, time will tell. And I don't even want to get into the speculation zone. We're going to talk about what really happened with the game, and then we'll talk about the UFL, the NFL signings, and then we'll kind of answer some questions from there. But you know how we do on this show, Jay. Unless we have some kind of factual report, we really don't like to start a hoorah because people will take it and run with it. Okay, a couple more comments and we'll roll on. Richard, again, thanks for showing your support. And I'm guessing he meant Jackie and their crew because immediately after that conversation. And let's do one more comment. KJ Disciple, damn TSA agents.
Yeah.
That's the one part I hate about flying, man.
Yeah, they threw out my toothpaste too. They said this tube is too big, and I'm like, okay. Like I could have taken down the whole plane with that tube of toothpaste. I swear to God.
That's some MacGyver stuff.
Yeah,
mix it with this, do that. Well, guys, appreciate you watching the show and support and comment in. You'll definitely be integrated in the show as much as possible. I want to go ahead and get started talking about the championship game and kind of just get an overall experience from Mark. What he thought, what he saw, and some highlights, some negatives. Whatever you wanted to share, Mark, the floor is yours regarding this UFL Championship game.
Yeah, overall, I mean, St. Louis is It's a wonderful city, let me tell you. And it was hot there, especially hot on game day. It was 100 above. So, and but it's a nice city. I mean, there's a little bit gritty in some places, but I managed to avoid those places. And the media day started on the Saturday, and of course I didn't know what to expect really. I went down there and to the stadium for about almost 1:30. I was there in the afternoon because they announced that the buses would arrive at the loading end of the stadium at 1:30, and I figured I could see the players getting off the buses. So I went down there, and there was no other people like me there. There was stadium workers waiting for the arrival. And so I was able to confirm with them that this was the right spot. So off we just waited. And soon enough, Alan Alford showed up, and Terry Spain, who I've never met before. Got to meet those two and meet Alan. Very nice gentleman.
Yeah, he's
very nice gentleman. And Alan was there with his camera. He was set it up, ready to film and report on the buses arriving. He's very professional. He was in a 3-piece suit, and
yep.
And I was in shorts and a golf shirt, right?
So when I met him, it was the same experience exactly. I was very impressed.
And Terry Spain, who's an ex-U.S. Navy sailor, and I'm an ex-Canadian Navy sailor, so I spent time talking to him, comparing notes, and the buses didn't arrive until 2, so they were half an hour late. Of course, us two Navy guys, we had something to say about that because you're never late when you're in the military, but apparently they were. So they arrived, and it was all business. They got off the buses. They walked into the stadium. It was very businesslike, very much they were on a mission. They waved at our cameras. I posted some video on UFL board.
Did you? Let me go to your
page. Alan's got a whole report on it, and I think Terry has a report too. So that happened, and then we went to the media day, which started off with player interviews. The Brahmas came out first. The players is John Trace Kirkland, Chase Garbers, Tavante Beckett. They were relaxed, and they talked about teamwork. And in fact, I did ask them. I said, which one of them was going to be the one that the Stallions should be most fearful of? And they came back and said, no, we're a team. They should be fearful of the whole team effort. So they talked about putting out a team effort. And again, like I said, they were relaxed and they seemed to be in the right headspace. So there was a lot of questions. So those interviews are online on different, they're on UFL board, Facebook and YouTube. You'll find them in different places. Whatever your favorite outlet has probably got them. Then the Birmingham players came out, Jay Sternberger, Adrian Martinez, and Carlos Davis. They seemed ready and confident. Not overconfident. They seemed confident. They were asked about the fact that they had lost to the Brahmas. They didn't seem to think that was an issue for them right now. They were definitely in the right headspace. Again, that interview is online. You can go and watch it if you want to see what happened before the game. More interesting is coaches Wade Phillips and Skip Holtz came out and sat side by side, which was something we haven't seen before in one of these games with the two head coaches there at the same time. Of course, they're friendly. I mean, they're both in the same boat, right? They're the head coach and they're in the championship game. So they had nice things to say about each other and about what they were going to do. But right away into that interview, it was Matty Fresh who came up and asked about the canceled signing of tight end Matt Siebert. That had happened a few days prior, where the Brahmas had wanted to sign Matt Siebert, and Matt Siebert had actually traveled to Arlington, and then it was canceled. And Matty Fresh actually asked the first question, which to Wade Phillips did not say much. He only said that the league adjudicated on it. He said then they went in a different direction. So he said the league said adjudicated on it, and we just changed directions and we brought in, we changed our minds and brought in someone else. And then I managed to ask a question and to Skip Holtz, because Skip Holtz said there was late the rules on late season signings were not clear. And he said there was USFL rules and there was XFL rules, but there was no real UFL rules. So he was implying that the league dropped the ball and they didn't promulgate these rules. He did a lot of talking about this. He went in circles. So I really don't know what happened, but whatever happened, it happened. And I'm assuming they didn't really want to talk about the rules, because I asked what were the rules, and we were never told. So that, so I don't know what I don't think I could expect anything more or less from that. Of course, Wade Phillips is more of a soft-spoken man. He's a man he's jovial. He likes to tell a joke. I like that guy. I really like that guy.
Yeah, he's a very likable guy.
Yeah.
When you see him in person, he's very authentic.
He's very authentic. I got to shake his hand, which was nice. I got to shake Skip Holtz's hand. One thing about Skip Holtz I did not know. He's a lot taller than I thought he was. I thought he was a little shorter. He's tall. And and he's nice, but he talks. Skip Holtz talks a lot. He's got a lot of words. That's just the way he is. So
yep.
It was nice, and they actually posed behind the trophy, and for photos. That was actually a nice moment, and the trophy was there. The trophy is actually quite nice.
I like it.
It's the nicest spring league trophy I've ever seen. It's nicer than anything else. USFL trophy was pretty cool too, by the way.
Yeah, seeing it in person was awesome as well. I didn't think it looked that good through pictures, but when you actually see it, it's nice, man. Yeah, the
XFL trophy, I don't know. Yeah, I won't even talk about it. It's just not as nice. Especially when you compare it to what else is out there. So that was media day. Also at media day, I went in. We weren't supposed to go into the stadium. Our passes were only take us into the media conference room. But you know what? I quickly found out that there's really nobody stopping me from going anywhere. So there was these robots that look like dogs, and I followed them, and I got to talk to the Army guys that were operating them, and the technician from the robotics company, and one of them was carrying the ball on its back, and I thought that was pretty cool. And they were running that robot around the field, and I'm like, how does the ball stay on there? And so I asked, and they told me it stays on there because it's meant to be steady. The robotics keeps it steady, and it wasn't glued on or anything. It was just on a little cradle. So I'm like, I thought that was pretty impressive. And those robots are freaky looking.
Yeah. Some Black Mirror stuff.
Yeah, there's like nightmares can come from that, but I managed to sleep through the night despite that experience.
I saw Pat. He posted Pat. He said, the first time I saw I'm paraphrasing. The first time I saw one of these robots was when I was deployed, and it ran up and tripped over a rock and fell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out on Twitter.
Okay.
It's funny, dude. I seen that before the game and was laughing. And then Richard said the XFL trophy is not the best, purchased from Big Lots.
Yeah. I don't have I'm not going to talk about that trophy. I have a lot to say about it, but I'm not going to say it. Just forget it.
Well, how was the actual game experience? I mean, how was it in terms of media? I know when I went to the XFL Championship last year, it was a good time. I met a lot of people, had a good time watching the game. I mean, is that similar experience?
Yeah, totally. Somebody who I worked with quite closely in XFL 2020 was Anthony. He writes for SI now.
Oh, Anthony Miller.
I don't know why I can't remember names because I'm old.
It happens. I do the same thing.
So I got to sit next to Anthony Miller in the press box, and he and I we hadn't talked to each other for years. So, and he was writing for XFL board in 2020. So, of course, he's moved on in his writing career. Very similar experiences than me. That he has a regular job, but he does the writing on his spare time, which he has very little of apparently.
He's a busy man.
Because he produces a lot of content. So yeah, so got to talk to him, got to meet Reed from the Marcast there. I've never actually met him. It was nice to see him. And yeah, and there was and a few other, but there was not a lot of media there. And you know what? It was mostly alt media. It was, in fact, that's who was there. And there's a huge press box up in the dome, and it was maybe 10% full.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, I mean, there could have been a whole lot more media there. I'm pretty sure. When I got to the game day was hot, so I never made it to the tailgating area. By the time I got to the stadium, my only mission was to go inside where the air conditioning was. It was that hot. I don't know how they did tailgating. I mean, they must have been down to bikinis and Speedos. It was so damn hot out there.
Come on down to the real South. We'll show you some heat.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. So this guy from Winnipeg is like, yeah, this is a lot. So prior to the game, we got a tour there was a tour of the technology in one of the stadium suites, and got to see the drone up close, or one of the drones, and they showed us the screen where they do the switching of camera views, and we got to play with those and get to wear the helmet with the camera on it. That was fun. I don't know how a player wears one of those helmets for the whole game. They really must be conditioned for that. Also went on the field, and I saw Skip Holtz completing 30-yard passes to the receivers. Like I didn't know that man could throw a ball, but of course he's an ex-player, so
he doesn't look like he's out of shape when you see him in person. He definitely looks like he's in shape.
No, if you look at him there in your screenshot, I mean, he looks like Elmer Fudd, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not. So, I say looks like. I'm not saying he is. So, and then also, I got to mingle a little bit with the players. In fact, I was in the tunnel, one of the tunnels, when a bunch of the Brahmas players came through the tunnel, which is a tight place, and I got to rub elbows with them. And then these guys were relaxed. They were loose as goose. They were cracking jokes. They were,
Was this the Stallions or the Brahmas you're speaking of, or both?
I think I said the Brahmas. Maybe I didn't. It was the Brahmas.
Gotcha.
The Stallions looked like they were loose too. They were during their warm up. They all looked pretty loose. I guess that's the way to be before a football game, before a championship game.
I mean, being the third time they've played in that that dome in a row, I figured they'd be kind of relaxed. They got too relaxed though, unfortunately.
Well, let's talk about that for a little bit. I know you're going to run through the game shortly, but when the game started, it was like, okay, let's go. I was expecting there to be, let's here comes the battle. This is it. It's going to be war. And then, of course, the Brahmas came out and they stalled their drive, and then the Stallions came out and they stalled. So the defenses were really controlling the game. And of course, just to fast forward, it wasn't until the end of the second quarter, into the first half, that the Stallions scored. And when the Brahmas actually got the ball past midfield right before the end of the half, that's as much as they got. So it was very disappointing to see that. And it was very disappointing. Now, in the post-game press conference, Skip Holtz said a couple things about that. He said that he allowed the Stallions offense to play conservatively in the first half because they didn't have to do anything, because the defense was holding the Brahmas off the scoreboard. So he didn't have to turn on his offense. He described that they held back. All right, Mr. Holtz. And he also admitted he was glad the Brahmas won the coin toss and took the ball first, as he wanted to be a sit and wait team in this game. That was his strategy. So he said that, in fact, his entire bench kind of cheered when the Brahmas chose to take the ball first. That was their strategy. So I thought that was interesting. And I won't. No spoilers, but the Brahmas lost 25-0. The poor boys never scored. And the post-game, that's the post-game press conference right there. That was very sad. During that Brahmas post-game, they started talking about, they were asked questions about their thoughts on what they would do next. And they talked about waiting to see what happens and possibly getting called up for an NFL team. And so that's where they were at. Like they were disappointed, but
you can tell by looking at them.
Yeah, just look at them. I mean, it was sad.
Look defeated.
A good playoff win here last week, and then
Well, you know, like I do, it's like most of these games. I mean, we haven't seen any game where a team got beat that bad, so you can definitely understand it from their perspective as well, because they haven't been scored on like that all year.
That was the worst beating in the whole season,
No doubt.
Sorry if I don't know if I sounded matter of fact to all the San Antonio fans here, because I know you're still struggling over this, but it was hard.
Oh yeah, we gotta be real. We're not talking crap. We're just talking facts. I mean,
yeah. And I wasn't, I showed up at that game. I wasn't really a fan of either team. I was a fan of a good game. I wanted to see a really good game. In fact, I had high hopes that there would be an overtime. Of course, yeah. That's all I can say about that.
I like it. I appreciate the insight. I wasn't there. People at home weren't there, so they can kind of see what you did on the media end of things. I mean, my thing is I didn't get approved until the week of, and I did not want to rush that way. I mean, St. Louis is kind of tough to get to from where I'm at. It's a 10-hour drive. Flights aren't that many going that way from where I'm at. So I don't know. I did not attend. So I appreciate the insight and kind of telling how it was. I mean, it sounds very similar to last year, if not the same, to be honest with you, except the game last year was decent for the most part. I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't a great game, but it wasn't boring either. The games I have attended for the UFL season this year have all been great games, but great, at least playing games. I mean, we saw a lot of different aspects that were good, defensive takeovers, offensive running the game, coming back from the deficit. I've seen a lot of things in person, so I would be very disappointed as well if I went to that game and had the result.
Yeah, well, I mean, the result was the only disappointing part about going to the game.
Yep.
Everything else was pretty good. I mean, you have to admit my theory on the media, the people that control the media in the media relations in the league, I think they're overworked. I think they've got a lot going on, and like staffing wise, they could probably use more people in their sides, because it seems that they're very busy in every day and every hour what they do. So I wish they would have granted those credentials earlier. My credentials were granted the Tuesday prior to the game. I had already booked my flights. I booked my flights in May. I was going come hell or high water. And so I'm glad that they finally approved me. But it was like every day I go look and it's pending. I'm saying, why can't they just approve this? Especially after I go there. Now, in the post-game press conference, not the media day, how many people were there? Well, let me tell you, there was a few more than media day. Media day, there might have been a dozen reporters there, mostly alt media. And the post game, maybe there was 15 or 16. It was very sparse. So, I mean, you'd think they'd want to invite more media or even alt media. And of course, you look at the alt media that was there. They asked all the good questions. I mean, I swear to God,
That's how it
Manny
normally
Fresh was
is.
there, and James Larson and Anthony Miller and Alan Alford and myself. We were all sitting in the front row of that press conference.
Way to represent, guys.
Yeah,
Seriously.
and every other, and the rest, there was nobody sitting behind us for the most part. There was just odds and ends. So, I mean, the league has to see who's reporting on their games. Now, if you go look on the media, if you go to Google News and you search for UFL Championship, you're going to see major news outlets with stories. I mean, so they basically wrote the stories, but the real news is coming out of the web media or the alt media. The real news, the real stories, the real interviews and headlines are coming out of that. So
yeah, and most of us, we don't make money on this. We most of us spend money on this stuff. It's not like there's money that a lot of us make from this. Speaking from like the alt perspective.
I know if you go to UFL board, you'll see that there's ads on that site, and I can tell you honestly that those ads do not pay for all the expenses.
I know.
Yeah. So if you don't, if anyone out there listening to this doesn't believe me, and if the Canadian Tax Association is listening, I don't make any money.
I feel that. I'm the same. I've said it 1,000 times just in case.
There are ways to monetize reporting or things like besides ads. I mean, but you still don't make any money.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know. It's
for the love.
Definitely. I'll say for a fact, I know a few people that got rejected that covered whole teams in different areas throughout the whole season. Some of these people attended every game in their city or whatever city they were covering, and they did not get in. So I did get it, but like I said, it was just too late. The expenses on travel go up a lot if you leave 2 or 3 days before, or schedule it 2 or 3 days before you're actually supposed to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But much respect to you guys for showing up and showing what we're about in terms of alt media. All the names you said, I mean, they have some type of role, some type of place in this spectrum. So I think you guys did awesome on that. I'm glad to hear that. Seriously.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. We tried. I mean, I was glad that I was able to end up at a media, at a game, and represent the media for once, because in fact that was my first time. So yeah, you're right, they're not big on the alt media. They haven't been, and I can tell you from my experience, and I've experienced it over the years, the first XFL 2001, it was hit and miss. I'll tell you who was big on the media was Birmingham. Birmingham invited the alt media. They were like, let's come on down. And I even got a pass for the Birmingham games, and I was in Canada. They sent me one in the mail.
Dang.
Yeah, like I still have that somewhere in one of my treasure chests.
Are you talking about the Birmingham Iron? Is that correct?
Oh,
you cut out on me. He might get disconnected. We'll see what happens. Uh-oh. All right, I'm going to give him a second to see if he fixes it or if it works it out. And then if not, we'll move on and start talking about the game. I'm going to bring it.
Did I cut out there or what?
Yeah, there you go. You're back. Yeah, you cut out for a good bit. I thought you were going to get booted. If you do get booted, just come right back in. You don't have to do anything different.
That's because I was talking about the old XFL and Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon has a big button and he just pushed it. So you're done.
It's a bullshit button.
Yep.
Yeah, Ryan, he does the Stallion Stampede, so he is a faithful to the Stallions down there, and I know he loves doing it. So I actually met him in person when I went for the conference championship, and he was doing his thing, man.
In XFL 2020, there was some markets that they did not like the alt media. I ran into some problems with Seattle, for example, at the time, and the media director in the headquarters of the XFL, I spoke to her, Stephanie Rudnick, and you know what? She sorted everything out. and all of a sudden Seattle was liked us, and they gave us our media accreditation. So the head office in 2020 was more friendly towards all media. They basically did not. They were trying not to exclude anybody that wanted to write on their league, which I liked. So that's all I have to say about that. It changes from year to year. Hopefully this league improves.
Yeah, before we move on, I want to agree with you on that. Even from last year, it's changed, and I'm dealing with a lot of the same people. I felt like wasn't too many different individuals besides the USFL teams. When it all started, man, I probably sent 60 emails before. I mean, I had to constantly email to get a response back, and I don't think that's due to a ignore me type purpose. I think they're just so busy. They're probably getting thousands of emails a day.
I think so.
That's my take on it, and that's from being around different media entities within the league. You know, whether it be Houston or Birmingham, or I mean, you can see the difference in each one when you deal with them and attend the games. I know in Birmingham, I kept getting frustrated because I was trying to take pictures before the game, and they're like, hey, you got to get off the field. And I had a yellow pass, and I do the same thing every game, take pictures beforehand. Sometimes I'll get the media photo credentials. They wouldn't give me those either, but, you know, they kept trying to remove me. And I'm just like, okay, I'll just go. I'm not going to be somewhere I'm not supposed to, but nobody could really. I told them, hey, the process at each game is yellow means you can be on the field until 5 minutes before kickoff. That's the process it's been for every game I've been to. And they were very adamant that was not correct. So made me a little frustrated down there in Birmingham. But it was very nice, very professional, very, very equipped. I felt like they had everything. They gave you food vouchers to get food. It was a different experience than I've attended in some of the other games. But yeah, we'll move on, Mark, if you're good with it. I'm going to bring XFLMikeG in and RJ.
Bring some fresh blood in here.
Let's do it. What's up, fellas?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Great.
Hi,
Mark.
Hello.
Have you guys constructed yourself after that loss? You feeling good today?
Well,
I was until you asked that. And I'd been pulled together for a little while, and then you and Mark, and it's like, God, I know we got to recap this game, but it's tough. It was a tough loss.
Yeah, I mean, I take solace in the fact that we witnessed history on Sunday. You know, there will be no other team that will score fewer points in a football championship game at any level than the San Antonio Brahmas. So at least I have that to hold on. We are in the history books, and no one can take that away from us.
I don't think anybody wants to take that away from us.
Oh, we fellas, y'all. I mean, whoever wants to go ahead and start. I mean, let's hear more about the game. I'll bring up YouTube in the background. I'll make some key points as well, but I'll let you guys do your thing.
I'll defer to the gentleman who was actually at the game,
Mr. RJ.
Yeah, I drove up there from San Antonio. It was a pretty long drive. Never been to St. Louis before. Never been to the Dome. The Dome itself, I've heard a lot of people say it's garbage and it's a trashy stadium and it's a dump, but I don't think it was that bad.
I don't either.
You could tell it's old and it's dated, but I went there with a friend and we were both looking at each other and we're like, wow, just imagine that this is where the greatest show on turf used to play on. But so that was pretty cool. But the game itself was, wow, I thought it was kind of boring for pretty much most of the first half until Birmingham scored late in the first half. And then after that, it was just a domination by the Stallions. And so me and my friend, we just wanted to sit there and see how long it's going to be. It's like, hey, if we can't be historically good, we might as well be biblically bad. So we joined in with some of the Battlehawks fans that was around us, and they were kind of teasing, and we took it all in good stride, and It's like, we're going to have a good time with this. There were games well out of hand, and let's have fun with it. There were some parts of the game, like our running game was not effective at all. You can see that the Stallions, they had like 200 yards rushing, and we had, what I see here, 52. So our running game was ineffective. Our pass rush, which has been dominant all year long, was not there at all. Martinez had enough time in the backfield to gather wood. He was able to build a fire. He was able to make a tent, go fishing, clean his fish, everything. I mean,
Take a nap.
we had no pressure on him at all. So he had all day back there.
Y'all want to intercept with this point real quick. Stallions picked up 210 yards on the ground in Sunday's game, which was 94 more yards than San Antonio's defense has allowed in any game this season.
Yes. So I don't know what the deal was there. Our defense just did not look as sharp as it used to. You can tell that the Stallions made some adjustments from the Week 9 loss that they had in San Antonio. So you could tell that they were prepared for what we threw at them, and we just couldn't do anything. And then offensively, our running game, like I said, was non-existent. Garbers was pressured quite a bit, and we all know about the 2 infamous slides that he had. I was losing my mind on that one slide in which he slid like 3 yards too soon, and there was no one around. He could have ran for like another 5-6 yards, but he slid and he was short, and we went for a 4th down. We didn't get it. And now you're starting to see, like on X or Twitter, Facebook, that he has possible NFL deals. And so he did this as I'm not going to get myself hurt, so I'm doing it as a protection thing. I don't know if I really buy that or not, but it was frustrating to see those slides there. And just our offense was sputtering for most of the game. And then Dormady came in, put some life into our game. We're actually starting to move the ball downfield. And so turning to my buddies, I well, this is it. With the UFL rules, we can score. We can go for 4th and 12. We get it. We score. We go for 4th and 12 again. Birmingham will never get the ball back, and we can score like 4 touchdowns in a row and win the game. And yeah, that didn't happen. I thought maybe they'd go for a field goal to at least put some points on the board, but that didn't happen. And here we are, 25-0. So nowhere in the history books. And like I said, no one can take that from us.
Ooh. Mike, what's your take on this?
Well, the previous week, it seems like we played we did play the best game of the season to defeat St. Louis to get into this championship game. And we juxtapose that with our worst output of the season. It was close in the first half. It was a slugfest. The defense was always there until towards the end. But once we lost Lovett and then Kirkland, our offense kind of seemed to fold in on itself. Like RJ was saying, they brought in Dormady, and a lot of people are feeling like that should have been a call that they made sooner. When I'm watching a game at home, I'm not very loud. I very rarely make any comments, but that slide that began 2 yards short of the first down marker when he was at the marker, that caused me to lose my mind. Yeah. But it seemed like San Antonio was almost, and I hate to say it, satisfied to be there a little bit. I always look at teams and how they react to getting into the playoffs, getting to the championship game. The Stallions were all business because they'd been there before, and San Antonio basically celebrated last week on St. Louis's field. So it kind of felt like maybe they were emotionally spent just getting there. And I don't want to say they were happy to be there because that's not the impression that I got, but maybe emotionally just kind of spent and done.
Yeah, it seemed like they had absolutely no fire except for the few players that were attempting to fight physically. I mean, you didn't see much fire come out of this team, man. And I've seen this team come back from a big deficit when they beat Memphis, and it was a completely different vibe, man. I don't know what to say on it.
Well, the defense they were in it. They were in it to win it. They were up and maybe a little bit too emotional, and that could lead to that drain. I don't like my teams to be too emotionally charged up going into the game or to expend too much emotion pregame, because that dwindles so fast. It's hard to utilize that in the game.
Mm-hmm. And I think the game started off on the wrong foot when we burned 2 timeouts in like the first 6 minutes of the game. And we're like, what is happening here?
Yeah. I felt like I was watching Houston.
Bizarre.
Yeah, that's some Houston stuff. Seriously.
And I've kind of noticed that about some of the games. It doesn't seem like the play clock is being reset correctly, because it's run down. And it's not just San Antonio. It's happened to a couple of other teams as well. And it's something that they didn't have the little, the little bug on the screen so I could keep track of when they reset that play clock. It is a shorter play clock than it is in the NFL, and these guys are used to it by now. But it just kind of feels like they're not resetting it correctly, and it's leading to shorter clocks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully they can polish that for next year. There's been a few things in that territory. Right. But, honestly, I feel like things are more consistent call-wise in the NFL. Some of the NFL calls are very debatable on most.
Yeah, and last season in the XFL, it kind of felt like the refs were going to make the call, and the guys in the Dean Blandino was going to, back them up. And there was very few challenges that were overruled. Yep. This year, it's kind of like the refs are going, you challenge it. You saw it, you challenge it. Mm-hmm. And with that only getting 1 super challenge per game, you don't really use it till the last 5 minutes of the game. So you're not going to – a lot of coaches aren't going to waste that super challenge, even – and something that could be a momentum swing, not necessarily a score. If it's a controversial score, usually the guys up top will take care of that. But it kind of seemed like these refs were hands off, and if you saw it, you call it.
Yeah, I've seen that throughout the season, and it kind of bugs me a little bit. And I actually asked John DeFilippo from Memphis. I asked him about the super challenge, and I said, you've only got 1, so you have to save it. And he says, yeah. And I says, maybe what if the UFL had a rule like the CFL? In the CFL, you have a super challenge, and if you actually make a challenge and it's successful, you get your challenge flag back once. In other words, you could have 2 super challenges if your first challenge is good. So. And if it's not good, then that's it. You're out of challenges, like similar to UFL. So, of course, John DeFilippo didn't actually say that was a good idea, because it seems a lot of these head coaches are conditioned to not say anything about the league rules.
I mean, that's what happens when the team's owned by the owners of the league.
Yeah.
We can expect that to be a regular occurrence with whoever's there.
Yeah, but I would like to see, I agree with you. I'd like to see the refs actually make some calls, Yeah,
and to kind of play off of what Mark was saying, my idea in theory was 1 per half, whether you get the first challenge right or not, 1 per half, period. And that kind of takes care of it for you.
Yeah, so you can make that challenge, and if you don't have to save your challenge to the second half, you could use 1 in the first half.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be fine too. I think that would be great.
Agreed. Let's go to comments. DeMarcus said Brahmas didn't have any emotion all game. Garber seemed a bit intimidated by the stage, and we just spoke about that a little bit. Just wanted to show some love to DeMarcus at home.
Now, since we've got these, you guys here, I first saw that rumor about Garbers and how he was kind of phoning it in for the NFL opportunity. Somebody posted that as a comment. A regular person posted that as a comment in Facebook. I have yet to see anything from an agent, someone was official being talked to. Because, when these guys are talking to people, of course, they can't say anything until that player is out of the no longer playing, they're done for the season. But I haven't seen anything since. And what I think may have happened is because he was still injured with that wrist, they might have been like, hey, keep yourself healthy. Let's go, And I don't know if that played too much into it, but all season long, I've kind of felt like they were running fewer RPOs and he was utilizing fewer opportunities to run with the ball even before he got hurt. And I made mention on that on RJ and I podcast, one of the first episodes that we did, is that it didn't seem like they were utilizing him very much, or he wasn't taking the opportunity to run. So I don't know how much that plays into it as a factor. That's a bad optic. You don't want, especially if he has the opportunity to come back to San Antonio next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that did not work out for Garbers.
Agreed.
It did not work out at all. And when you said they brought Normandy in late, I was waiting for number 12 to come in before they put him in. They should have brought him in earlier. I mean, I'm not saying Normandy's any better. On a given day, he might be better than Garbers, and he may have been on this day, but he needed to have more chances, I think, because he has an arm, he has a cannon. So, and you saw that there was a bit of an air show when Normandy finally came in. He actually connected some passes downfield. I mean, that was exciting. I was like you, RJ. I thought, hey, they could do this. Yeah, nope. Sorry.
That's smart. We've seen it, but it was a pretty big deficit once he did arrive to the game. So
yeah, it was too late.
Foosball fan said if Garbers had an opportunity, he don't now. LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, if he does return to San Antonio next year, there will be some questions that he'll need answered. If he's going to be the guy, that's basically it. It makes me wonder as well if he wasn't injured and we just weren't aware of it.
Yeah.
If he was just trying not to, get knocked out of the game.
And trying to, as he said, trying not to get knocked out of an opportunity for the NFL, which may have actually played. He may have actually done that differently without an injury. He may have done it just from sliding.
Yeah, I feel like we did see some different play calling in this game from San Antonio as well.
Yeah, why is that?
It wasn't as much dinking and dunking. It was a lot more reaching or running. So I'm not quite sure if it was just because it was the big stage or if they had schemed that out.
Missing Latimer.
That is true as well.
Mm-hmm.
But as well as I do, he was utilized, but man, he could have been a stud this season if he would have been utilized more. He is an athlete for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being in that tight end spot, and there really isn't a traditional tight end spot in these offenses that are air raid and RPOs, and it's not really in the playbook. That's why I think they're listed at either H's or Y's. Him and Alize Mack, and something I had said before, it's the different routes that they needed to utilize to use Latimer as a safety blanket for Garbers, and without with him gone and being injured, it didn't seem like he had anywhere else to go.
Yeah, agreed. DeMarcus said, from an optic perspective, it would have been better for St. Louis to have gotten there so you'd at least get the crowd, even if that outcome was the same. I mean, do you guys agree with that statement?
No. I mean, it's easy to agree with it, but from what I observed from the St. Louis fans, had they been there, if they're true fans, they would have been there regardless. Yes, they were salty about losing to the Brahmas, but they should have been there to support the league. I think more tickets were on verified resale than were actually sold after the teams were announced, after the Brahmas and Stallions finally made it.
Yeah, you saw in the Facebook groups, as soon as St. Louis lost that game the week prior, those tickets went up for sale fast. Yeah. I mean, there were so many tickets for sale, so many. And a lot of people. Go ahead.
Sorry, the section that I was sitting in, I was surrounded by Battlehawks fans, and they're all saying that, yeah, we try to sell our ticket, but no one buy it, so we figured might as well come to the game, might as well come because we're not going to eat this money that we spent. So they were just there, I guess, for spite.
Or maybe just to see Kurt Warner come out
to boo at Tom Brady.
Yeah, that happened, and Kurt Warner got the biggest cheer, of course.
Yes,
and
the whole thing.
Even though I don't think his kid played it down, or maybe he did. But
No, he had to warm up and play catch with his dad on the field pregame, so that was his moment.
yeah, I guess during the pregame media day, I asked Wade Phillips because it was Father's Day, whether Cade Warner would get to play, and he says, "Oh yeah, we're going to throw him a pass." I don't think he did. So disappointed dad there. I'm sure of
it. Keela, am I saying that right? I believe. If I'm not, please correct me. Said STL fans outnumbered the Brahmas and Stallions. Is that true, RJ, Mark? You guys were there.
I think so.
Oh yes, yeah.
There
was a lot of Battlehawks fans there. And I said in the section we're in, almost all of them were saying that they were just there because they couldn't get rid of their tickets.
It was still sparse. And across from the press box in the level 4, there were fans sitting there, but it was sparse. So they had sold tickets up there as well. Yeah. But every section was sparse.
It looked like that on TV also. Not trying to be critical.
Like the 27,000 that they announced was there. There might have been, I think there was about the same amount of fans there as there was at the championship last year in San Antonio.
Yeah. That's what I thought as well, looking at it, honestly, because I was there in person for that other game and Mark's pictures, other pictures. Go ahead, Mark.
How many were there at the game you're talking about? 15,000?
So the championship last year in San Antonio, I think it was 22,000.
I don't think there was 22,000 actually.
I'll look it up real quick.
It listed.
There was 14 or 15 maybe.
14?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's important now that instead of attendance, we use tickets sold because it's kind of misleading.
Well, the league will tell you what they want to tell you.
Oh, I understand.
More surprising, and I think you've got it on your agenda, was the TV ratings were actually quite decent for one of the worst football games ever. I mean, was there nothing else on TV that night?
Oh, Father's Day, man. Everybody's chilling, wanting to watch football, so I can kind of see where this would been popular. I was out and about. We went to a pizza spot and did some stuff, and they even had it on in there when I was doing stuff. I was surprised. You don't see that down here much at any place. They don't know what XFL is or UFL. So
Yep.
So 27,396 in attendance. I say tickets sold, and we had 1.596 million average TV viewers on Fox. It topped out at 1.7 something. So it was a productive outing for this game.
For the final game, the championship game, my friend and I were looking at each other. It's like, and this is supposedly the best product that the UFL has to offer. And it was, as we all saw, it was not a very good game. It started off boring, and then it became a blowout. And then we looked around, during the game where they have all the chug cam and the Cinda cam and all that good stuff there. They had the flex cam, and so we're like, all right, this is when they're going to show The Rock up there in his little booth like they did last year. And we're all looking around like, okay, where is he? Oh, The Rock didn't even make it to the championship in his own league. Right. That's not a good look.
Well, he's on a movie set, I think.
Yeah, he did his media PR before he started his schedule. I remember this was a few months back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Danny Garcia was there. Very low key, though. Very low key.
Yeah, she was also in attendance for the UFL Conference Championships. She was very, very, very accessible compared to last year. I'll say that. Last year, man, you saw them come through. They had a posse with them of security. You were not getting to them. It wasn't the same this year, and that's understandable because they've been a lot more hands-off in this league. So Mike Mitchell wrote an article and reported on, there's some of the attendance stuff, and I thought was interesting. The 40 UFL telecast averaged 850,000 viewers across Fox, ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, and FS1. That's 34% better than last year's average for all USFL and XFL games through last season, which was 635,000. To me, I mean, that's what we want to see. And I can't guarantee personally, but from looking at this, unless there's something we don't know, we should have spring football next year, no doubt.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
I think so.
The only question that I would have about those numbers is it a total of traditional watchers, cable antenna, and online on the app numbers?
think
Is
it
it all
includes app.
combined?
I
Yeah.
don't
So I
think
mean,
so.
those numbers will jump. You
Yeah.
know, we could possibly be looking at 2 million, maybe.
There's a lot of streamers. They've never said how many.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way to truly know is the problem. I don't know if they have a metric system for that.
I've kind of guesstimated it. Well, and these are not based off of 2020 numbers. Roughly 10% of traditional watchers become what are called cord cutters and using solely apps. So if you figure maybe 1% of those people tuned into this, you get some good numbers.
Most everyone I know uses some type of app, unless it's you have the antenna or you have traditional cable, which most people don't anymore. They all use that. I was happy to get rid of YouTube TV. I don't have to pay for it this month anymore.
That's expensive. Yeah, I had it as well.
Yep. They almost got me, and I canceled it right before they charged. So
yeah,
happy about that. In terms of the attendance or tickets sold and the TV viewers, we had a successful championship, and that's something we can bank on. Poor performance, but if this did catch the interest of people that haven't watched the league, they can go back and see the excitement, the athletics, the players from the whole season, because there were some great matchups this season. I didn't go to any games in person that were boring, and even including the USFL Conference Championship, that was a pretty good game until the end. I mean, the fumbles and everything. It was a good, entertaining game. So, you guys think it was a success? I mean, how do you feel personally?
Yeah,
I know
I
you
think
lost.
it was a success. I think the UFL as a whole, the product was a success. It's very good, high quality football. I think with the downsizing of the markets down just to 8 teams, you had a lot more high quality players on fewer teams. So because of that, I thought the competition was better. I seriously thought going into the season we would see a lot of a parity. There would be a lot of 5-5 teams, or maybe 6-4. I didn't really expect a 9-1 team and what was the Panthers 7-3, and then there's 2 7-3s in the XFL with St. Louis and San Antonio. I didn't expect it to be that big of a gap in standings, but overall, I thought it was a good product, and we're definitely coming back for next year. And I think with a solid, just standard off season, like they're planning, no expansion, none of that there. We'll just help build upon, and we'll have a better year too.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, what do you think, Mark?
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, watching this game, I kind of started thinking back about, the championship game not being so good and the conference championship game being the better matchup. And it kind of reminded me of like the back when in the 90s when the Cowboys and the 49ers were going at it, and the championship game in the NFC was the better game than the Super Bowl. What was the score for the Cowboys and the Bills game? 52-0. But that 49ers Cowboys game was a classic. So it's kind of unfortunate that I feel that way. If they could have just put the San Antonio St. Louis game as the championship game, I think that would have solved all the problems. It just didn't work out that way.
Yeah, it was. That's what foosball fans said. Both playoff games were really good, and I agree. Mark, what you think, man? Success?
Definitely. I think it's a success. I mean, and it's one of the things that we all been talking about in the past is that in the off seasons we were in the turmoil for the last year, and you're like, are we going to have a season or not, and and then last season was, we got to wait for this merger to happen, and all the rumors that happened. It was, those were dark ages. So what are we headed for now? We're not, hopefully, if what Daryl Johnson said is true, we're going into another season with the same 8 teams. You know what that means? It means we can start talking about the rivalries. And which game I'm looking forward to in UFL 2025 is when the Brahmas meet the Stallions next year, and see what kind of a beatdown they can put on them.
And
because
most likely that'll be in Birmingham, most likely.
Yeah, so I mean, that's put that one, mark that one on your calendar when the schedule comes out. That's the game you want to watch, or it's one of the games you want to watch, and you want to see whether the DC Defenders are going to put it together and they're going to have a winning season, because the season they just had sucked, and you want to see if if what happens to Houston and what happens to Memphis and how they can take the off season and springboard into a new season. Of course, Memphis is going to get the number 1 draft pick. I don't know if that's going to pay off for them or not, but we can talk about that. We can all those things are upcoming. So I think the one unknown is how much marketing and promotion are they going to do in the off season in these team cities like Memphis and Houston, etc. Will they actually increase ticket sales? Will they, now they have more time to sell season tickets, will they actually get that done?
Yeah, I think so. We shall see, but I don't think we'll be looking at the basic system come this next few months. I think we're going to see some different things unfold.
Well, they're going to lay off all their staff for the off season. I mean, and then nothing will happen. And maybe that's what they'll do, because I think I've heard that might happen.
Well, they still need to market. That's for sure.
Well, they have to, yeah.
Yep.
And they even said, I think the league has talked about this recently. They said we had problems with attendance, and it's because we didn't have time to market and we didn't put out the schedule early enough. They admitted that. So, okay, you know what you did wrong, then now you can fix it. This is your opportunity. And of course, the next thing to think about is, when will next season start? Will it be an earlier season? And I hope it is. I hope it starts in the XFL style, like the week or the second week after Super Bowl. Just get it out there and get that football out there earlier in the season.
Yep. Agreed.
So we're waiting to see announcements about that and how that's going to play out. So, but there's some exciting things to watch and wait for in the off season.
And which coaches are coming back too?
Of course, yeah,
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Will there be any change-ups?
We should have some change-ups on some form on every team. That is the thing about the spring ball. We're going to be looking at something different. Maybe not be too significant, but you can bet it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to a nice, normal off season where we don't have to worry about who's playing where. Is this team going to have a team? I was at Houston, and I believe Michigan only had a week to kick off before they announced that they could start selling tickets and starting filling those stadiums and selling season tickets. With this, we'll get hopefully more than 30 days advance notice for the schedule. Hopefully they'll release that in January.
Hell, December even.
Yeah.
Earlier is the better, especially for people with kids and such. It helps them plan all that out. I don't have kids, so I don't got to worry about that. But a lot of people have a kid or two. A lot of spring sports start up March, April. There was an individual in our group that he could not attend any games or do anything because his life was taken by spring sports and his child's sports. He could not go to any game in DC. So it's understandable. Ryan Messer said they need local engagement, and we've been screaming that for a year and a half. I've been screaming the same thing. At this point, go back and listen to some old podcasts, XFL, UFL, and you'll see what we've said 1,000 times. I'm not going to regurgitate it again. But, yeah, that's crucial. Got to have it. Trey, he pimed in. He said, better not hear anyone else say an UFL team can beat a CFL team. Just kidding. Love you guys.
I was going to say something about Winnipeg. Not going to say it.
The Canadian Football Countdown, guys, if you're listening now, that's Trey. He's part of the crew on that show. Check that out for some CFL content. They're pretty good at keep up with everything, have regular shows. It's entertaining. Good group of guys. Yeah, so with this 25-0 score, we wrap up the UFL 2024 season, guys. The Stallions took it home, got the three-peat, and it was the first shutout all season as well. It's the most interesting thing. Save the best for the last, I guess.
Yeah, once the sting of that title game wears off, and we reflect back on it honestly, we had a great season. We were 3-7 last year, and we flipped that to 7-3, beat St. Louis at St. Louis to get to the championship game. Heck of a season. We had so many great players, some that we brought in, some that were already existing. But San Antonio, once we get over that, we'll be ready to go for the next year.
Right.
Yes, sir. Agreed.
Here in San Antonio, if you still want football, we do got the Gunslingers, so we're lucky to still have some football here in Alamo City.
Yes, sir. What point is it right now in their season? Is it like midway? I haven't been keeping up with it just because I've been so into this.
I think they're week 14 or about ready to start week 15 right now. So Gunslingers are now 6-5, so they have 5 games left.
Gotcha. That's what I was gonna say. They go to 20, I guess. Is that when the playoffs start, or is that leading up to the playoffs, or that included the playoffs?
So 5 regular season games left.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll be checking it out. And you can check out RJ, guys. He's always making sure to keep the information about those gunslingers going. We put his articles on alternativefootballnetwork.com. And also they have their own show. It's RJ's show. Him and Mike G do their thing together. Chewing the Cud.
Right.
Check it out.
Thank you.
I didn't even know you guys had a show this week. I've been so unplugged that I have not done much.
Probably not this week because it is.
No. I'm sorry. Last week. Week.
Yeah.
That I misspoke that, but yeah, I just quit. I didn't look at anything. I had to unplug. So appreciate you guys coming on all season, doing your thing. We'll get you guys on for sure. We'll be collaborating, doing some stuff together during the season, interviews, whatever. I look forward to talking more and appreciate you both. Seriously.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank y'all. Check out their show, Chewing the Cud. You can check out RJ on alternativefootballnetwork.com. Guys, anything you want to say before you're out of here?
No, just it was a good season. Like Mike said, it was something that we can be proud of. It didn't end the way we wanted, but overall, it was still a very successful season. We'll get it next year.
Agreed.
As always, horns forward.
Horns
I
forward.
love it. Take it easy, fellas. Be good. Take it easy.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Mark. It seems like anytime we get on together, we sit on this for like 2 hours every time. It always happens. It seems like. Next up, we're going to talk about some of the UFL to NFL players, and I got my guy Mike T. Bell going to join us to fill us in a little bit more. What's up, Mike? How are you?
Hey guys, long time no see. Good to see you, Mark.
Hey, Mike, fill us in.
Yeah, lots going on in the UFL to NFL space. That's what we're here for, right? This has all been built in the league of opportunity, and it's what we kind of all wanted to see happen. And being a Michigan Panthers fan and covering them most of the season, the guy that, to no surprise, has gotten a contract, Jake Bates. Per Aaron Wilson, he's gotten a 2-year deal. But your colleague, Greg Parks, made a good point. Don't fall in love with the length of the deal. You kind of got to look at the guaranteed money. He's getting $150,000 guaranteed, which isn't a big cap hit in the NFL. So he's going to have some work to do. He's not going to just come in and be the guy. He does get a signing bonus. There is some other bonuses in there. But he's going to be competing with Michael Badgley. He's the incumbent kicker, and he has added some power, but he was only 38.5% from 50 plus since 2018, and that ranks him 54 out of 56 kickers that are eligible in that category.
Wow.
So that's where Jake Bates can show off his leg and his accuracy in that longer range. And it doesn't seem like it'd be too hard to beat him out in that, but he's got some work to do. So, and the great thing is Jake Bates, he burst onto the scene. The star was born in week 1 when that 64-yarder went through to beat the Battlehawks. Luckily, the Rocks connection with Pat McAfee, he got on the show and just kind of got a lot of national attention for himself and for the league. It was reported by the New York Times that he was reached out to early in the season by the Lions. And I thought it was fascinating because I was at every game, and it stood out to me that when halftime came, he was the only player the whole season I saw never went in for any part of the halftime. He stayed out, and he was always practicing, but it was from a specific yard line that was equated to the NFL PAT. And I just thought that, in hindsight, it was cool to kind of see how he was trying to manifest his dream, working on something that he wasn't going to get to do in the UFL, which was the NFL extra point. So that he did that every single home game that I watched. And he did pretty good in the dome. He only had one field goal miss the whole year inside the dome, and that one was 51 yards. So, you can't, get too hard on him on that. 17 of 22 in the regular season, 21, 28 overall. And the ones that he did miss, were over 50 yards. There was a 39-yarder that he missed and a 44-yarder that was blocked. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he's used if he does make the team. Dan Campbell's notorious for going for it on fourth down when he's on the opponent's side of the field. And we all know in that conference championship game how he could have, used some extra points from his kicker when he went forward on fourth down and didn't get it. What will he do? This is kind of a paradox situation. Jake Bates can get you those points. And I think the answer is actually the way Coach Nolan used him this year. There were a lot of times where we felt like, why is Coach Nolan not going for the points here? He's in Jake Bates' range, and then he'd punt it and rely on the defense. But he did use him in the end of half situations and obviously at the end of game situations. So I think Dan Campbell will probably utilize the same method. So James Turner was waived to make room for Jake Bates, and I think we're all excited to see what he can do in the NFL.
Yeah, I think he has a shot. It's proven that, these special teams players, if anyone has a shot, it's definitely them to get on that roster.
Absolutely.
What's the deal with Jake Bates, though? Back before the season began, the reviews. Well, the Panthers got a kicker, and he hasn't kicked a field goal since high school. And the reviews were, what are they thinking? Well, they obviously knew something because this guy, he just killed it, especially in the first game, even in the first game. So I find that very interesting how nobody knew that this guy could kick until the Panthers figured it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know if Jake, where did he place amongst kickers, field goal kickers or field goal kicks? Do you know, Mike?
In the UFL?
Yes.
I believe overall he was like third or fourth in percentage, but most of the season he was at one or two until he had one bad game, and that just kind of threw off all the percentages there.
Yeah.
But it was definitely in the upper part, but it was like third or fourth.
I just was curious. No worries.
Yeah.
With his long kicks, he should be good. And if he goes through and shows what he can do, I imagine we'll be seeing him at least make the practice squad. That's my observation.
Yeah. And those field goals are clutch situations. The 64-yarder.
Yep.
He also had the one against Arlington. Those are high pressure situations, and the big deal about that first one was he made the one before he got iced.
He got iced, and then he just went back and did it again.
Yeah.
I remember that. In terms of his skill, I think he's got it, no doubt. But I know, at least on the XFL side, how many guys actually made it in the league last year? I think, was it one? Is that right? I don't know off the top of my head, but it's like most of them got cut right before the season started or after training camp. Some were on practice squads. But I'm just curious, do you guys know, who last year actually made it? Who had been? He was with the Broncos, right?
I know, like Brandon Aubrey, kicker.
I was meaning more XFL, but that as well. He's one of the rare exceptions for that.
Yeah. I can't, none that's coming off the top of my head. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I can't think of anyone. And I'm interested. I'm like you. I agree. I'm waiting to see what Jake Bates does with the Lions. I'll be watching. And
yeah,
I hope he does it. I think that would be the best thing.
Yep. And we're gonna have more players every day. We're gonna see something on this, guys. And right now, I think unofficially, there's 5 more signings that haven't been released officially yet. So I don't want to bring them up, but
yeah,
we see them, sometimes 2 days prior, sometimes 1 day prior. And then we'll see the pre-R release with those names. But right now it's just 8 officially. We know there's more. I know there's more. But I mean, Dawood Davis, he's gone. He's heading to the Panthers.
Yeah.
That a lot of these names, Jacob Sailors, Willie Harvey Jr., the Cowboys. Sailors is going to the Giants. I mean, I wish the best for all these men, and I hope they take this opportunity and run with it. And don't be one of these that have to come back. Do your thing.
Absolutely. And it's nice seeing, a couple of them. You think that they might have to be young to get this opportunity, like 24 range. But I think Jacob Sailors is 24. Harvey was like 28. Another guy, one of the linemen that got taken was 26. So I mean, there is opportunity to kind of, if you do need to reset, you can come here, polish your game, get a good look, and get signed and get a chance. And I think that's what these guys are looking for. Just give me another shot. And a lot of people, they fall out of the league and then you never hear from them again. This is like a shot to actually just settle down, get some good solid film out there and get another look.
Agreed, 100%. And I like the Jake Bates story in terms of he played for the Panthers, Michigan Panthers, and now he's coming to play for the Lions. I mean, that's almost a hometown story. I mean, it's not exactly a hometown story, but it's very close. So,
right.
Yeah, man, it should be a good venture for this man. And each one of these guys, man, even if they make the practice squad, that's good money. They're doing what they love to do, and they have the opportunity to step up at some point. So,
yeah.
Is there anyone else that you've looked at, Mike? I don't know why I call you Jake again. Lord have mercy. You just look like a Jake to me,
right?
Is there any other players that you're, looking at that are shining out right now for that next spot?
I mean, I am excited to see that, I put out there earlier that I wish that there was some kind of deal where all the player awards would at least guarantee them an opportunity to at least get a camp invite. That way we could see Luis Perez make it into the, the NFL and players like that. But we did hear about an official camp invite, or I should say tryout for Breland Speaks, Defensive Player of the Year with the Titans and the Carolina Panthers. So it's nice to see, like, there are some of those GMs that, are watching the league. I think Atlanta Falcons have like 8 people from, now that I think about it, with the former question, they have a lot of people from the Battlehawks. I think Young-Hing Koo, and he was on the Battlehawks at one point, or in the AAF.
Yeah, I don't know if he was on the Battlehawk. I think he was in the AAF, though. I can't remember.
Yeah, they released like something today. It was showing all the different Falcons that were in the UFL, and it was like a good handful of them, and there was a good handful that were all Battlehawks. I was like, geesh.
must be from prior years, like the 2020 eras, because I don't think there's many right now. I'll look when we get done, and I'll post about it for sure.
I should have wrote that down, but yeah.
Hey, you can't do it all, man. I'm the same way. We do what we can, but we're not getting paid for this stuff until I do. then that's when I get a lot more serious about it.
Right, absolutely.
But yeah, it's always good to see these guys get the opportunity and to have you on the show, Mike. Appreciate you coming in again.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure, especially when I get to be on with the legend, Mark Nelson.
Yeah. Thanks for calling me a legend.
It's true.
Mark's so excited about it. You can tell.
No, it's always a pleasure there, Mike. It's good to hear about somebody that knows more about football than I do, which is always everybody.
I don't know about that. I was heartbroken I didn't get to go to the championship game, so it was cool to hear that you got to go and you had, some sort of experience. I don't know if it was it was good. Same as past years, but
so where will the championship be next year? I think it'll be at a USFL conference team. Could it be at the Panthers, or they don't know where they're playing next year, do they?
Yeah, the Panthers. So this is from my sources, they have not renewed the contract yet. So it was a 1-year deal going into this year. It has expired. I can confirm that. And it looks like they need to get that done sooner rather than later, but otherwise they're going to have to look at some other venues. If that is true, then they will look at Eastern Michigan, which they used as a practice field in the past. It is a 6,000 capacity, roughly, approximately. Don't quote me on exactly there. Also looking at Central Michigan, Ann Arbor, but Ann Arbor just feels weird. Like they've mentioned Ann Arbor, but to go to the big house with the third largest stadium, I don't know unless they get the students involved and the staff. But there is the old Ferry Field there, which used to house about 46,000 there. So if it's renovatable, within a couple months, maybe that's something. But I think the main thing is they'll try to renew that contract, and it's just a matter of what Ford Field wants out of them.
Does the championship game have to be in a dome? I mean, it has been. Of course, the USFL championships weren't in a dome.
I feel like if it's late in the season, yes.
If it's late in the season, yeah. So if they start earlier, could they have the championship in Birmingham next year?
I mean, it's feasible. But even then, if you're going to say on that lines, you can say Memphis is a good spot. There's a bunch, there's a lot of good spots available. Yeah. Honestly, from my opinion, I think it'll really be who is going to partner with the league the most. And we kind of we saw the Visit St. Louis stuff. Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I think it'll be somewhat similar to that where, they'll be looking at their best options. It's not just going to be what they want. And nothing wrong with that because we got to save some dollars.
Well, I think Daryl Johnson, Moose Johnson said they gave it to St. Louis as a reward because their attendance had been so good. And they would look at doing that again. So who has earned a reward for next year? I really
Stallions.
don't know.
The Stallions. That's my opinion. If you go visit there as well, that would be a great spot to host a game, a championship game. I enjoyed it in terms of the actual media stuff and the procedural stuff and communication. All those things were awesome with that team. So
that's why I think this is going to be the Stallions, or it might be Detroit if they get Ford Field.
Agreed.
I would like to see it go to DC, but that's an XFL team. So I'm thinking, no. It'll go to a USFL conference team next year, I think. Or will it go back to Canton? Because I kind of doubt that.
I doubt that as well. It'd be logistically, that would be a nightmare, not having a team there at all.
Yeah. I mean, that seems, Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that. If it's in Detroit, I would, I'll probably travel to that one for sure.
I think it'd be a good boost for, you think about, the Panthers, and how good they did this year. They're only going to build upon that next year. They need a massive help in the attendance. They showed that they are watching on TV. To know that you might have a championship game there, I think I go into game one as a fan wanting to be a part of it and get in there. So I think that'd be a great help.
Well, what if they sell the tickets earlier this year? And what if now that people know that this league is now not just a one and gone, that it's a 2 years and it's possibly further? Well, do you think that fans will start to buy tickets for Panthers games and start taking it seriously?
I do think so. It was definitely a crap show last year, or I should say this last season. To not even get season ticket opportunity until March 13th, with the season starting March 30th, and then single tickets, going on sale a week later. I mean, there was like Matthew said, there was no time to plan. You were already planning for the Tigers baseball games at this point.
Yeah.
And the Red Wings were hot in hockey. You were spending your dollars there, and you didn't even know if things were going to start up. It just was that messy. And there was no communication. They didn't even know who their communications director was going to be until very late.
Yeah, there's a whole long list of reasons why it didn't work out.
Yeah, they were
and they know it.
Yeah, they were using the Billboard media people, Lambert. They were using them to bridge the gap in communication until they brought in the new person. So I think it will go much better this year. It can only go up for sure.
Yeah.
That's what we hope for, fellas. No doubt.
That's what this league needs to hope for, is that they do it right and they sell more tickets and the attendance numbers are, let's say, 20, 30, 40% better than last year in all those markets where we thought should be better. Like Detroit is a good example.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
another thing, you guys are throwing out reasons, but Detroit had 3 home games in a row that were planned very, very quickly. It was, I don't know the exact time frame, but it was very quickly in between them saying, hey, we got 3 home games, come out, buy tickets.
Yeah, and the first 2 were backed up against Tigers and Red Wings, and Red Wings are in a playoff push. It was, I mean, I was walking to the game just to see a Tiger and Red Wings fans, and it didn't seem like anybody was going to the Panthers game, but
yeah.
It'll get better, Mike. Hang on, man. Hang on.
I'm trying. Everybody, that's the sad part, is everybody outside of Michigan, it feels like they just want us gone and they want to relocate us and bring a new team in. But I see a lot of value that the Panthers could bring, especially history. I got my Bobby Aber jersey on right now. I just got, from the 80s. So there's history there. Let's bring it back.
I like it, man. Mike, I appreciate you coming on, discussing some UFL to NFL players, as well as we got a little bit of a championship home field next year. We got to discuss that a little bit. So appreciate you, Mike. We'll be in touch more, and I'll see you again for sure, my friend.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure. Good seeing you both.
Bye, Mike.
All right, see you, Mark.
Till next time, my friend. Be good.
Thanks, Matthew.
All right. Great convo with Mike. Mike T. Bell's a man. Appreciate him. He covered the Panthers all season long. He was one of the few with AFN he was the only person that got season credentials with any team, at least with my folks. I couldn't even get season credentials. I was game by game. So good stuff to Mike, man. Appreciate you. He really put on a good face for AFN and came with his best foot forward, professional, and it all shined for him. And now, he's got contacts. He knows who to contact for things. They know who he is. It's exactly what you should do in that position. So good stuff.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all, you can look forward to next season for Mike. It'll get better.
Yeah,
he'll get his credentials, and hopefully the Panthers have a good season next year and everything works out for them. Maybe they'll be in the championship game.
Yes, sir.
And how close were they to actually being in this championship game? Think about it. Like they were in it.
Yeah.
And
attendance wise, at least if we're thinking tickets sold, they really didn't do that bad. Comparable to other teams, they still weren't the worst. So,
all things considered, yeah.
That's what my thoughts on it is. It's who's making the money, who's pulling people, who's pulling actual people to come to your game. It doesn't matter what city it is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mark, hour and 36 minutes, man. We did it.
It's a little bit of a marathon, yeah. It's
always
a pleasure coming on your show. I really enjoy your show. You're a great host, Matthew.
Appreciate
it's
that.
Always fun, and you have good people on. You got a good team at AFN. They're knowledgeable and smart and they're amicable. I want to listen to them. I want to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, that's really what we set out to do. Is we're not here to just rile and grift discussions. We're trying to actually do whatever you're passionate about. For Mike, that's covering the team as a professional media person. For me, that's doing everything in the background and in the podcast and doing some coverage as well. But yeah, everybody kind of has some strengths, and we've had a few people fall out, but it's understandable, and I don't take anything personal. It's just how it goes, especially when you're doing an endeavor that doesn't pay. I can see it's totally understandable if somebody doesn't have the time or the effort to do this. So the guys that did make it, I appreciate them greatly. You'll see them more as the show goes on. We'll have on for specials or discussions. And yeah, I appreciate you too, Mark, man. Like I told you from the get-go, it's been a long year of growth, and your website was one of the main factors for me kind of developing. So appreciate you.
Well, I hope you continue to grow. I know, and it's hard to grow followers.
Yeah.
And but you have to keep at it and just keep growing them, and it'll come. and things will come to you. I remember back when you first contacted me, and I was like, oh, who is this guy? All right. He wants to partner with UFL or XFL board at the time. And I'm like, well, why not? We partner with everybody. Like to me, it's the more the merrier.
Me as well.
So, and you had that attitude. So that's why we kind of joined together. And I mean, our partnership is really on the surface because, you know, I cross post your podcasts and help promote them. And a lot of our writers go with our guests on your podcast. So as long as other people. And yeah, I want to continue doing that. In fact, let's, if we can do more, let's do more.
Yes, sir. I like it. Now that things kind of settled out, we'll have an actual season and we should be able to put out some great content.
Yeah.
Last year, my biggest thing was, are we even going to be around? What's happening?
Yeah.
That's what made me create this.
You didn't know until, Christmas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when we did the official switch to AFN. Come up with the brand, did the website and everything.
And you don't have to rebrand this year?
Nope, no rebrand.
And we don't have, UFL board doesn't have to rebrand anymore, thank God. That was painful.
It is. People don't realize how much work it is on every end.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, especially technically the domain names and things like that. I still have errors in my logs and and bad URLs and things I have to clean up. And now in the off season, I have time now, so it's crazy.
Yeah, you do a good job though, man. Y'all keep doing your thing. I always look for Greg's articles as well as some of your work. You have some other guys that do some good stuff as well. Mm-hmm. And we've been sharing it on the website. It's posted there for people, and the website does get some views. It's not like a hugely popular site, but I mean, we get just as good views, if not better, than the podcast.
Yeah. I find Twitter or X is a bit of a crap hole.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what we get from that arrangement. I mean, we have over 10,000 followers, but I'm not sure what we get out of it. Our Facebook following is building slowly. Facebook has good engagement.
Yeah.
I like Facebook. If you're not following UFL board or if you're not following AFN on Facebook, you should do so.
Agreed.
Go do it right now.
I've tried. The ones that are following, or the ones that will follow, have already followed, I believe. But
yeah.
I'll push it all. I try not to push it too much because it's not really what I'm about. That's why I've really had to stand out this past year. You got to really be authentic. Don't get caught up in some arguments on Twitter, some toxicity.
No,
there's a lot of gatekeepers I've found in this span of things, whether it's Twitter or Facebook. Socially, there are gatekeepers amongst the groups and the members, the people there. So don't go out arguing with folks on Twitter, because at the end of the day, you're arguing online. That's my thing. If anybody ever had a disagreement with me, I would love to get them on the show and talk, not to bash and to go back and forth, but just to see, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it publicly. Yeah. That's never happened. And it's just the way it goes.
You know what? One of my old buddies used to say, you never fight with a pig because you both get dirty and the pig likes it.
I was going to say you'd smell like shit, but that's very similar.
So that whole, the battles on Twitter and that, it's, I love to ignore people on Twitter. That's my favorite thing. Oh, you really have a comment? Well, fine. Just let that sit there.
I do now. I didn't at first. I had to learn to do that.
Yeah.
And now I really step back. This podcast, this network, the socials, they aren't who I am. They are something I do. And I don't see how people have the energy to constantly post and comment. And I mean, if you go through some of these things, there's 50 comments. I'm like, man, what do you do all day? I know your wife has to be pissed.
Or no wife.
Yeah, no wife. That too.
Yeah. Well,
Richard said I disagree with you, and I'm guessing he was talking about the.
Well, we're not going to comment on that. Sorry. It's social media is tough, and maybe it's tough for me because I'm old school. I mean, when I first started the XFL board, that was a discussion board, and there was no social media. And I mean that was a really hot place to talk about the XFL back in 2001 because there was nothing else. There was nothing else. There was only discussion boards, and the XFL board was the one. That's all changed now, of course. I mean, people out there are saying, "Hey, you old fart, stop talking about the old days," So I will. We still have that board. The US now branded UFL board, of course, like everything else we had to rebrand it. It's got a hardcore set of users, and they're hardcore, and they're in there every day commenting. And you know what? They're pretty amicable. They don't fight. There's a few little wars that go on every now and then, but they're actually quite amicable, and they disagree. They're disagreeing all the time. That board will continue to go. I don't know. Again, it's old school. A lot of the younger folks say, well, I don't do a message board. In the off season, we're going to do some upgrades of it. We have to upgrade it a couple times. So hopefully, hopefully that continues on for the UFL board, the discussion forum. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. You'd probably go in there and say, wow, these guys have no lives, but hey, they enjoy it.
Hey, it's a flash to the past. I mean, people my age, I'm 33. You remember when the internet first came out and people used it to bridge the gap of communication. That was what its purpose. I mean, was to bridge a gap where we don't have to get your news from the TV infomercial. You can talk to people online, and message boards were that for so long. That was where people really had discussions. It was free in terms of the actual money, and then it was free in terms of freedom of speech to say what you want.
Mm-hmm.
The landscape has changed significantly on all that, whether we're talking about free speech or things that don't cost money. I mean, it's crazy when you think about it, but that history is good to have. And I find it very rewarding to go back there and look at some of those old conversations and see some of those same people are still in those message boards is what's crazy. Well,
we have at least one user that I know of that was in the original XFL board that's posts regularly in the UFL board right now. His name is Bama Slammer. That's his handle. I know who he is because he wrote for the XFL board back in 2001. He wrote an article that said, "Don't cheer from the press box." That was one of his things. He would get media credentials for the Birmingham Thunderbolts, and he went into the press box and cheered for the Birmingham, and he got admonished because he's not supposed to cheer when he's. So he wrote about that. So I mean, there's some really old school stuff in there like that still exists on our website, and I'm proud of it that we've been doing it for so long. But as for the message board, the one thing I can say for you in the message board, if you go there and read, or if you contribute, if you join up and contribute, this is not a place where you're going to get responded to with spam or like you do on X or on Facebook. This is everything in there posted is serious. Like this is serious discussion. So I mean, yeah, there's no spam. It's I monitor, I administer that site, and I keep the spammers out. Spammers try to come in there and post things about their
prescriptions.
Whatever. I don't know. They don't talk about Viagra anymore, but
I get like the Russian Viagra. It's all crazy.
Yeah, but those posts don't even make it. They get killed in the back room. So it's a clean site, and come on down.
The foosball fan said nothing beats a good message board. We'll check it out.
Check it out. Go in there and start telling those guys that are in there. Start telling them how smart you are about football, because they need someone to tell them that every now and then. That they're not the only ones.
He said nudes in profile.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're trending on Twitter. If you see nudes in profile or other things in profile.
I hate that. Yeah, I hate
you
that.
know you're trending though, because
I mean, it's so useless, and you'd think that Twitter could just kill that, but they're not interested in killing any traffic.
No, it's like you have to be careful looking through the posts because random porn videos are posted in popular posts. I mean, it's constant. I look on there. I try not to engage in any social media too much anymore, except actual information. But man, it's crazy. You go to look and then you see all the nastiness, and I don't know. It wasn't like that a couple of years ago, but it was a lot more regulated.
It's always changing.
Yeah.
And the thing about X right now is people are monetizing X, so they get a blue check mark, and then they start posting videos and they start posting things just to get hits, just to get likes and follows, and whatever they'll post anything under the sun. Doesn't even have to be real, just to get people to respond to them. And so that's X right now. Yep. I think you can. There's a lot of good UFL information on X. Of course, if you follow the right people, you will get information and you will get knowledge. So if you're doing that, then that's probably what you need to do on X. But there's a whole lot more going on X that's completely useless.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook's very similar. Certain groups people have control of.
Those groups are the Wild West. They're the Wild West, man.
Yep. When I first started this, the groups were on it for me, and now some of the biggest groups we don't even post in anymore just because of disagreements in terms of like
it turns stupid. It turns stupid, right?
Toxicity, just ignorance. Yeah. So that's one of the things that made me pull back from social media myself, and also what makes me try to be authentic. You know, we could create a picture with words that would piss people off and get conversation started, but I know not to do that. I choose.
Yeah, that's not the game for you. It's not the game for UFL board either. We don't do that.
That's why I like you, for sure. My number one.
And I like you too.
Too bad you're too far away, buddy.
Oh, I'd give you a hug.
Go skipping on the beach.
I'll have to go down to Biloxi one day and see you, but I'd probably melt.
Yeah, come in
the winter.
late winter should be perfect. Come about March, February, it should be good.
All right.
January this year was actually cold. It was under 30 at a couple points, but then after that it reasons out. And I know that's not cold at all, or you. That's nothing. Yeah, you're always welcome, Mark. You let me know, man. You ever make it down this way, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But guys, I guess that's it. I had a couple more comments I'm going to roll through. Stallion said P, which this is Ryan. He said, "Great seeing you in STL, Mark." He posted that at the beginning of the show. Just wanted to note that.
Yeah, I see. He was in the same hotel as me.
Yep. He did attend the game with his family as well.
He was there. Yeah, I saw him with his family. Nice to see you.
And then the last comment before you're all out was Trey. I don't know if Trey's still on the show or not. Trey said, "Sorry, guys, just tuned in for the night. Would you say this season was an overall success for the league? And unfortunately, don't hear much about it up north." He's from Canada. Yeah, Trey, we discussed that probably 50 minutes into the episode, 40 minutes into the episode. So if you want to check that out, you'll kind of see what we got to say. But I don't want to hash out the whole combo again. But yeah.
It was a success except for the final game score.
Yeah.
That was the only downside.
We discussed, as normal, the things that could be improved, and it's the same things we've been saying all year. And then, I mean, we definitely gave them the praise of what was great and good. But yeah, Trey, check that out. I try to chime in on their shows too. It's really tough when you're jumping from content, whether it's CFL, ELF, UFL, whatever. It's hard to keep up with all of them. I thought that it was going to be a little easier. It's tough.
No, I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know how you do it, but
doing what I can, do what I can, the best I can is my approach to things.
Well, CFL season's on now, and I'm a spectator.
Well, hey, do you guys post anything CFL on UFL, or is it just UFL stuff?
We have a forum, a CFL forum in our discussion board, and it's pretty light on discussion. So,
gotcha.
It's usually just me in there talking to myself.
Hey, man, if you want conversation, we know you got to get on Twitter. That's the place for you, sir.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, I appreciate it, man. We'll talk again soon. Guys, check him out, UFLboard.com, and then on all socials, UFL Board. I mean, it's a very unique name. You'll find it very easily, no doubt in my mind. Mark, anything you want to say before you're out of here?
Well, thanks for inviting me. Check out UFL Board on all socials and follow us. We've got good content coming out in the off season. Look for Greg Parks to post a review of each team for the season, for 2024 season. He's going to start posting those real soon. I think he'll start with the bottom, Houston and Memphis, and go and work his way up to the top. And as you know, Greg posts good analysis. Check it out. We're going to keep on rolling in the off season. We're going to do some upgrades to the site, and the message board or discussion board will get some upgrades. And we're going to get ready for the next season because it's going to happen.
Sounds like a plan. Yes, sir. Anytime. Anything you need me to share or whatnot, you let me know. We'll get it done.
Yes. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Any way you and I can collaborate, your organization and the UFL board, let's do it.
Yes, sir. Full go. The sales ahead. Let's do it. Appreciate you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mark Nelson, UFL board. Appreciate you again, man. Always good conversations with the UFL board crew. I've had him and Greg on a few different times together, separate, whatever. They're regulars of the show in terms of guests. Check them out. I mean, Greg does some good work, and Mark as well, as you see. But yeah, thank you for listening tonight. If you made it through the whole show, if you watched after the fact, thank you for listening as well. Much appreciated. Do me a favor, hit the like and follow button. I'm trying to get the following up. In terms of future shows, their TBA, I'm not going to try to skip weeks like I did last week. That was just an off week for me. I had some stuff going on. So check for weekly shows, whether it be with the AFN interview series or the UFL Insiders. I'm not the type to have unnecessary shows. So if there isn't anything major discussed or a big guest or something, you won't see much of the UFL Insiders until that occurs. So whether it's AFN interview or the UFL Insiders, expect some kind of content in terms of podcast. You got alternativefootballnetwork.com. We still have some people doing writings and different articles, but it's pretty small in the number of people doing it now because the season's over, especially. So there is some content on there to look at as well. But regardless, I really try to make the podcast my baby and then make sure everything in the background is done for AFN and the website and such. But yeah, I'm going to try to monetize as well. My thing with the monetization is I don't want to have a show filled with ads. I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible, as well as the website. I don't want a website filled with ads. I hate getting on websites and then the ads spamming you where you can't see what's going on in the actual article or video or whatever. So trying to avoid that. That's what almost every group, whether it's Fox or CBS or whatever, I mean, they're all monetized with the ads, but I just don't know if I want to do that yet. I'm going to try to look for some more mom and pop type sponsorships and see what happens. But regardless, we'll be trying to do something monetization wise in this off season. So check that out. It's a labor of love and it's been great, but after doing my taxes last year, I realized, hey, bro, you're spending a lot of money on this. So I'm going to try to recoup some of that. I appreciate you guys again for listening, supporting the show, the league, the players, the coaches, staff, whatever. The comments, it's been great. I've enjoyed it greatly and look forward to another season with UFL and the league come 2025. We should have some good content coming. There's a lot of content creators out there regarding the UFL now. Once we did the merge, it really put us all together, and there's some great individuals out there doing good work. So follow them, support them. I mean, even if you like me or don't, try